And the 2017 movie was actually a little better. But let me explain. Hey everyone, how's it going? Matt Jarbo here, $3 Theater. And I know that intro probably got a lot of you feeling certain things, right? You're feeling your blood boil. You're looking at the downvote button going like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. But let me explain as to why I feel the way I feel about this particular movie. So I have been kind of avoiding Ghost in the Shell. I'm not a big anime fan. Right there should be your number one flag for, okay, maybe he just doesn't get it. No. I understand storytelling. I understand story structure. I understand the themes that the movie was conveying. And on an animation level and on a production level, this movie was absolutely outstanding. It was amazing to behold, to see. I thought it was wonderful in how it was created. The problem I have with most animes are that the story gets to be a little bit heavy-handed because a lot of the times it's based on the manga that precedes it. And in some cases, like Akira, which I'll get to, it was the movie came out before the manga was done. And so it's like there's adaptational problems with it and everything else. So I was kind of bullied into watching this, and I say bullied in a funny way, by my audience over on Hollywood After Dark. A bunch of fans of anime over there want to try to red pill me on anime, so they're like, watch Ghost in the Shell. Well, I actually bought the 4K version of the movie last year when it came out. I just never got around to actually watching it. So finally put my copy in, sat down, started watching this, and yeah, I can see the cultural significance. Yes, I can see why the Wachowskis heavily referenced it. I can even see how it directly referenced Blade Runner. I mean, heavily referenced Blade Runner. You know, you can't talk about cyberpunk noir without going back to Blade Runner. And so I know a lot of people are like, but Ghost in the Shell kind of started. No, if anything, like Akira came out well before that, but that was heavily influenced by Blade Runner as well. And I mean, like, but clearly Blade Runner is like the blueprint. And that's totally fine, right? I love Blade Runner. So you figure I would love this. Well, yeah, the movie was good up until a point. And this is, again, the problem when these stories come a little bit like self-involving, self-important. And I think they lose themselves in what it is that they're trying to say. Now, for those of you guys who know the story, you know that it's all about, Motoko Kusanagi and her working with Section 9 and trying to track down the puppet master. And even that in and of itself is kind of a bit of a convoluted story. Like, the premise is interesting. You've got this master hacker who can basically erase people's minds and implant memories and do all this stuff to make them do his bidding. And that's really cool. But this movie is also only like 90 minutes long or 80 minutes long. It's short as hell. And like, it feels like it just drags on in so many places because it's just so much. Okay, I'll give you guys a prime example of this. Go watch the opening credit scene of this movie. All right. Like, you can totally see the Matrix in that, but it also goes on for like 4 or 5 minutes. It goes on for a while. And then there's even like a break about 30-40 minutes into the movie where, again, it goes on this like kind of like visual expository journey of of the city. I almost said Neo Tokyo, but that's Akira. Of the city, and like, it's just, you hear the music, like, yeah, the music's really good, the music's great, but like, you get back to the fucking story, man. Like, get back to the plot. Like, I want to know what's going on here, because let's keep things moving. And that was kind of one of the biggest pitfalls of Ghost in the Shell, was that it's just like a lot of back and forth dialogue that is, heavily playing into the themes about what it means to be a person and what it means to be like cybernetic and about like, just philosophy and all those kind of elements that obviously this was heavily pushing towards. But I really wanted a lot more action, to be fair. To be honest with you guys, I wanted a lot more action in the movie because it was kind of like hyped up for me like that. It was hyped up as this like, this neo-noir cyberpunk movie that influenced the Matrix, and you'll notice cultural references everywhere and all of these things. And I see that, but I'm like, oh, okay, but in my mind, all I'm thinking of is like, yeah, I kind of enjoyed the 2017 movie with Scarlett Johansson better. I just feel like the story made more sense because the story actually like fucking went somewhere. This story doesn't really go anywhere. Like, it's just, I know people out there are going to want to disagree with me on it. Again, trying to tie it back into the overall themes. The themes are interesting, but I feel the themes ultimately kind of back themselves into a bit of a corner especially with like the finale of the movie, and then just kind of wrap themselves up in a nice, neat little bow, and you're done. Now, I've talked to people since watching this, and everyone tells me, just go watch Standalone Complex. It's like an alternate timeline version of this one, but you get a lot more story. You get a lot more with Major Kusanagi. You get a lot more of her character. You get a lot more. It's a much better told story. And I want to go and see that, by the way. I am going to sit down and watch that because I do dig the world and the characters and the story enough to want to see it really extrapolated upon. And I will say, like, at the end of the movie, what I really liked is, like, you know, she goes and they track down the puppet master through, you know, the car chase stuff, which is pretty cool, to like this abandoned building. And obviously that was kind of the plan. And he gets her there, and there's like this spider tank that's got active camo. And that scene was really dope. The animation on the scene was really good. But what I thought was really interesting was, like, she jumps on the back of the spider bot and she starts like tearing at it, and then just starts like dismantling her own body to do it, and ends up like tearing off her arm and like her leg or something. And then it's like nothing really happens until her buddy shows up with like a big tank gun, and he blows it to smithereens. And then they're able to work with the puppet master to figure out it just was like, okay. Because, like, what if that guy wasn't there? Like, that was a bit of Deus Ex Machina, which, again, happens in all these movies, but it was so, like, it just kind of felt, like, out of place for what they were trying to do. And then, of course, the conversation between the puppet master and the major about, like, what it means to be alive and wanting to find, the fact that he's an AI that has now become sentient, and he wants to live, and then he ultimately wants to die. But then he wants to, like, merge with her and then, like, mate with her and produce offspring for the net. You know, like, he was basically just like, yeah, I want to reproduce and then I want to die, which is ultimately like the core fundamental process of every organism out there, right? It's just recreate, die, or procreate and die. It's really about it. So for that, I get it. But then, like, she agrees to it, and then here come like Section 9 or Section 6 with their snipers to take everything out, you know, and then like she ends up like losing her head, but then they reattach it to like a child's body. And then now her and the puppet master are like merged together. And then she just like bails out. She's like, your friend's like, yeah, well, it's only been 20 hours, but I was able to like get another cybernetic body on the black market, but it's a child. Let's not talk about the ethical implications of that one. Let's not dive into why you were able to find a child-sized body within 20 hours in the black market of Japan and shit. Let's not dive into any of those weird themes as Chris Hansen walks in and says, "Please take a seat." I mean, not like maybe it's because I'm just thinking to the media that I've consumed over the years, but for me that was pretty damn funny, to be fair. So you've got that. And then she's like, all right, well, we're going to bail. We're going to go. I'm no longer puppet master. I'm no longer major. We're one being now. And who knows where it's going to go. And like the last shot of the movie is for like standing over the city. And it's like ominous, like, where is she going to go next sort of thing. And I get to the end of it and I'm like, ooh, where is she going? I don't fucking care. I don't care about where she's going to go next. That's one of the things I enjoyed about the 2017 movie was like it actually tried to explain how she ended up in the shell. And like who she was and her backstory and like how that tied into other things. Like it was the B plot of the movie. And I know people out there are still going to argue that the 2017 movie was shit. I don't think it was the shit. I think it was entertaining enough for what they were attempting to do with it. And I thought for trying to bring a story like this and disseminate it for Western audiences, obviously that is where I come from. So that is the type of representation and the type of thing that I will be looking at more so. Then like maybe, I don't know how much of this was tied into more of an Eastern philosophy. I mean, obviously introspection, the philosophy of it all, life, death, procreation, legacy, things along those lines. I get what it's trying to say, but I was like kind of like pseudo bored, and again, even certain things like don't make sense. Like, so she assassinates a guy in the beginning of the movie. She's a fucking cop, but she assassinates a guy. Right. And then like literally like that's it. Like she assassinates a dude and then they get, and then that's to stop like this programmer from defecting to another country. Okay, cool. That's an interesting political intrigue element there. But then like, finding out at the very end of the movie, like right at the very end of the movie, Project 2501. And like this guy was a programmer on it, the dude who we have like literally no backstory on. for this guy, if I recall, like no backstory on the dude who's defecting, because he never plays a part in the effing movie at all. Outside of the end, oh, he worked on the project, and then you find out, oh, it was Section 6 made the Puppet Master for their own like political reasons, and then he became sentient and wanted to dip the F out. Like, okay, fine, I get that. Could have used a bit more exposition, I think. Could have used a few more rewrites of the draft. But then again, look, the cultural significance of this movie is not lost on me. And will I watch it again? Yeah, maybe now that I've seen it once, I can get that out of my system and then go in and watch it for the finer details. Do I want to watch it again immediately? The answer to that is no, I don't. Do I want to watch Standalone Complex or The Innocents or whatever the hell it is? The other movies that they show? Yeah, maybe down the road. But I'm not like, as I do want to see Standalone Complex, but I'm not like going to dive into it right away. But I'll get around to it eventually, provided it's streaming in a place where I can get my hands on it. But that being said, those are my thoughts about Ghost in the Shell. I know there's going to be a lot of interesting comments on this one. But again, listen, if you guys want to recommend anime for me to watch, I'm absolutely open to it. We do a show, Hollywood After Dark, here on this channel most nights. I have a Discord, which will be linked in the video description. Come on in, recommend some anime for me or some movies you want me to check out. We'll get into a conversation about it, because if you guys are excited about something, it's not hard to get me excited about it. And I want to experience movies, but I have an apprehension to anime, and I'm going to be a lot more critical with its story elements, more so than the animation. But like I said, the animation here was great stuff. I loved it. The story just needed a lot more work. But anyway, your thoughts, your opinions. Like the video if you want, but I expect there to be a lot of this, and that's okay. Opinions matter. I want to hear them. I'll see you guys later, and peace out.